Hello, everybody, and it is 1 o'clock. And we are just trying to get our next speaker on to the show as soon as we can. She's just, oh, I believe we have her.
They're here.
Amazing.
Cierra.
Cierra.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining the Victoria Tea Festival Revival. This is the.
Thanks for having me.
You've actually been part of the Vic Tea Fest Revival for a number of years now. I believe every year that we've had it, you have been one of the folks purveying their goods, right? Like we've been honored. And
Well, thanks to you, Jared. I've been honored to be invited by you every year. So thanks very much for that. I was thinking about that this morning, actually. How many years has it been? 4?
5 years. Yeah, we're in year 5.
5. Oh, yeah.
So,
Incredible.
yeah, I think. And how long has Unity Gen existed? 5 years? Plus?
I guess 7 or 8 years. It depends if you count the year before we were in actual business, when we were just selling it at raves.
We count the tea festival before we were actually a society on paper, so.
I think that's bona fide. Yeah, if you only counted the registered version of us, then this is year 1. So.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the two of you are staying up for 24 hours, so maybe you need some of those rave vibes.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's with the without the drugs. Except we can do caffeine. We can do the whole Camellia
That was
sinensis.
part of the point of Unity Gen, actually.
Yeah.
Is that we've got herbs in there that help you feel a way that you want to feel in a really healthy way that's not going to have any toxic after effects, and it's going to be cleansing and purifying for your body.
That makes sense. Yeah. We've the topic we pulled kind of from your webpage. It doesn't have to be what we discussed. We sort of talked about it a little bit, and it seems to be sort of linked up to the conversations that we often have. You have when you're talking at the tea festival, was medicine and exquisite flavor through Jun as a canvas is what we've come up with. Does that sound about right? Like, is that kind of a discussion that would be nice to have?
Absolutely. Sorry, but can you just repeat one word that you said? Through Jun as a
canvas. Yeah.
Oh, through Jun as a canvas.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you'd like that. You want?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Amazing. You want to talk to us? You want to talk to us a little bit about before we get started? Maybe you could tell the viewers. There's a number of viewers watching from around the world.
Great.
Just a little bit about Unity Gen.
Sure. Yeah. Hello, viewers watching from around the world. I'm very pleased to talk to you today. Unity Gen is a local business here in Victoria, BC, on unceded Lekwungen speaking territories. And we produce this. Can you see my rainbow, Jared?
I can see the rainbow. Yeah, beautiful
so
rainbow.
These delicious flavors of Jun. And now what Jun is it's a relative of kombucha. It's a fermented tea drink. Right. Yeah. It eats tea and raw honey. And then we infuse into the Jun organic herbs and spices to create the different flavors, colors, and wellness intentions that all of the flavors have.
Amazing. Okay. And that's kind of been the focus of the business from the get-go, is to just further this beautiful medicine through beautiful medicine.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we could, if you want to take over from here, if you wanted to talk a little bit about this idea of, medicine and flavor, and how you maybe have been accomplishing that through your processes.
Yeah, sure. I also brought some herbs to show as well, because different herbs have different. They have different ways that they like to be extracted into the Jun. So if you're making medicine from herbs, I don't know if any of your viewers are interested in making medicine from herbs, Jared. I know they're all interested in tea.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, herbs obviously can be made into a delicious tea. Yeah. So you could take herbs. Like here's a nice herb. I'll just show you something that I've got here. Here's a nice herb. This nice herb here is called butterfly pea flower,
Nice.
And I'm going to take some out and hold it on my hand for you in front of the camera.
Cool.
So can you see it?
I hold it up a little bit. There you go. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So this nice herb is called butterfly pea flower. And if you put this into water and make tea out of it, you will get a beautiful blue colored tea. So teas can be made from all kinds of herbs. It's not the official, what is it, Camellia sinensis tea, right, Jared?
Right.
But I guess there's another word for that, tisane as well. So
yeah.
real tea or not, perhaps
herbal tea. Yeah, I know.
Topic of contention.
It's all good. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's definitely that perspective. It's not technically tea if it's not Camellia sinensis, but it doesn't mean that it's not medicinally amazing for your system, you know. So
right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that like Camellia sinensis, obviously they probably like herbal tea too. A lot of them.
Yeah, I think so.
So herbs are really nice to take in as medicine, and of course people can take them as tinctures. That's when they're extracted into alcohol. You can take them as, like I was saying, a tea, or you can extract them into jun or kombucha. Jun works way better than kombucha for extracting herbs, in my brewing experience and tasting opinion.
Why do you think that is, if you don't mind me interjecting?
Do I know why that is?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Somebody once said to me, oh, it's because jun is a superior, gosh, now I'm going to forget the word. Oh, it's a gross word.
Solvent? Is this the word?
Solvent, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
He said, oh, it's because jun is a superior solvent.
Okay.
And I thought that, explained it, and I realized that's actually just a fancy way of saying the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Solvent just means it extracts, its extracting power is stronger, and I wouldn't know why that would be.
That's interesting.
But I do really like the way herbs end up in jun, and I do use a rather massive quantity of herbs in my own jun, which is a little bit of a crazy thing to do, but I really like people who drink my jun to be able to say, yeah, that made me feel good.
Right.
So I think herbs are good. A lot of herbs is even better.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how are you're careful though? I mean, there are different mixes and matches of different herbs that can have sort of an interesting effect on your system. But I mean, if what you're doing is
make people think you should overuse herbs and mix them randomly together, and some herbs can have a bad effect on if you're taking prescription drugs, they might not mesh well. But I don't use any herbs like that in my flavors. There's nothing in my flavors that's going to make you have a bad reaction unless you have an allergy to something that's in here, and if so, by all means, read the label and don't drink it if you're allergic to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's important. You want to talk a little? So, what are some of the goals for some of the extractions that you have there? At the risk of, I don't want to necessarily turn it into a big commercial or anything, but I do at the same time. I think it's so beautiful what you're doing. So it's maybe there's something a particular one that you're really excited about. Maybe we could talk about that, and you could explain what brought that one about, and what it is that you've done to create this opportunity for medicinal extraction and interaction.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'd actually like to talk about I think I'll talk about the chai, actually, because the reason I'm excited about our chai flavor right now is because I always make it in the fall and winter, and I always give it a break over the summer. So I just started making it again, so I'm excited about it.
Okay.
And it's interesting to talk about in the context of herbs, too, because a lot of herbs, to extract them into jun or tea or whatever, you would just soak them for a period of time.
Right.
Softer herbs like rose, you would just soak them, and all of the good stuff comes out. But some of the herbs that are harder and just crunchier, they don't really soak in as well. So we have an interesting process to infuse this flavor because it has a lot of hard, chunky herbs in it. And I do have some hard, chunky herbs that I can show you.
Sweet.
Oh, okay. Well, here, I have some cinnamon sticks. Everyone has seen cinnamon sticks. So this is a good example.
Okay.
If you put cinnamon stick in your hot water, it will taste a little cinnamony later. But if you want to really, really, really have very cinnamony tasting tea, you would obviously grind this up and put it in the hot water, right? That would make your water way more like cinnamon.
Totally.
Yeah, and cinnamon is one of the ingredients in this Jun. But we don't just grind it up to put it in. We actually, because we also use, rats, and I just don't see them. Oh, I had a nice big piece of reishi and a piece of chaga to show you.
Oh, it's all good.
Our chai has warming chai spices in it.
Oh, cool.
And it's got chaga and reishi. And they're dried chaga and reishi mushrooms.
Now, I'm really excited about chaga and reishi, but there's probably a lot of our viewers that don't know what those are. Do you want to quickly explain what chaga and reishi mushrooms are and why they're so exciting?
I'm about to.
I'm sorry. Okay, I don't want to.
No, don't apologize.
Okay.
I love that you asked that because now it's like I'm not the only one that wants to say it.
Awesome.
For myself anymore.
Okay.
So chaga and reishi, they've been harvested. They've been dried. They're really, really hard. And the reason we put those in with the chai spices, which are nice and warming and really good to have in winter, especially if you're drinking something that might be cool when you're drinking it. You do want to have, warming spices so that you don't get overly chilled at this time of year. So the reason we added the chaga and reishi to those warming spices is because they do many things, but one of the things that they can do very well is give a little boost to your immune system. So they're not like antiviral specifically. They don't go into your body and kill viruses or anything like that. But many of the functions that they have within your body are supportive to the healthy functioning of an immune system.
Right.
And that's something that's actually been studied scientifically. And, you can find all kinds of papers on this if you even just look online to look at some of the research. It's really interesting. And a lot of that research has come out of China. And I know you get some great teas from China, Jared, as well as Japan and India, don't you?
I'm drinking one right now. Chinese Yunwu, lovely green.
Yeah, nice. Well, apparently most of the research that's being done in China scientifically on medicinal mushrooms has not even been translated into English yet. So I'm waiting for a huge onslaught of more medicinal mushroom information. But they do make a very nice tea. However, you need to steep, boil, pressure cook the out of them in order to get that effect once they've been dried.
Yeah,
so I actually use an Instant Pot.
Oh, that's
Not
cool.
To make this into a commercial for the Instant Pot. There's enough of those online.
Yeah. No, but that's cool.
I got mine for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I recommend it. I use my Instant Pot, and I pressure cook all the chai spices and the chaga and the reishi together for an absurd amount of time until it turns into a slurry, a gooey slurry.
Very
and then I run that gooey slurry through my blender and infuse that into the Jun.
Wow.
And that causes the Jun to just really take up all that goodness. And then when I strain it, I get all the remaining bits and pieces out.
Cool.
Except for this really, really satisfying amount of I don't know. It's there's this sort of dank kind of because I don't use a super fine filter because I like to have some of that sediment afterwards. There's some powder left over in the Jun. I think that's really great.
Right.
But and when there's this sort of leftover kind of sediment that will collect at the bottom of the cup from the chai spices, I just really like that, so in this right now, there's little tiny bits of sediment floating in here, and if you leave this, then they'll all sink to the bottom, and this will still be pretty much the same color, but there'll just be this little extra layer of spice down there,
right?
And that's the only sort of solid amount that stays in. Everything else is being strained out, but when you taste it, it just really, it's so good. It's that essence of what you smelled coming out of the pressure cooker.
I love that stuff. The kind of the dregs or when it's yeast and not there's going to be a certain amount of lees or dead yeast that's in there as well, right? That forms sort of a murkiness at the bottom of the bottle. But a fellow that I write music with, he's always been a big proponent of flipping the bottle upside down and redistributing all that goodness back into the liquid so that it's a very nice immersion, and then opening up the bottle and then drinking it. He does that with beer. He does that with our kombucha, And am I correct in that that's what we should be doing when we're drinking what you've created there? Like that helps for that nice even distribution.
Yes, you are correct. You are correct. And normally I go like this before I open it. And you may have noticed that I didn't. I didn't do that before opening this. And that was, Jared, just because I remembered what happened to me last time I was on a live stream with you. And I just wanted to, like, just in case it was going to get nasty. I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah, well, it's alive, right? This is a fermentation, so there's definitely an opportunity here for things to go a little bit sideways if we're not careful. But
and it's kind of an old bottle that I had in my fridge at home. So
okay,
it's like,
fair.
I feel like I wouldn't sell this one, so you know.
Yeah, no, we actually tried to get some of your bottles here in time for the show. It might even show up while we're talking. But
cool.
Yeah, no, they're pretty exciting stuff for certain. But an interesting thing about yeast too, and I'm certain this is true with the botanicals, is that that's where a lot of our like flavor complexity is. And I wonder, how much we lose when we don't do exactly that. Like there's so much medicine that's in the dregs of the bottle, right? And
the probiotics.
The probiotics,
right?
for certain. Yeah. And it's sad when we lose those. I think there's kind of like a distaste for it, and I think it is a little bit of what's the word here? Like a flavor that you get used to over time if you have it strong on its own, but it's actually quite pleasant when you do that redistribution into the liquid. So I think it's really easy to enjoy if you do that, and then you're going to get a lot more out of it, right? Like, because there's a kind of an encouragement to not drink that much probiotic in one sitting, and so many people will buy bottles like that you have going, and they'll just drink 1/3 of it at a time. Recreationally, you can definitely enjoy a full bottle, but like if you're drinking
especially
it for
if you're staying up for 24 hours.
Yeah. Then I might be drinking 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, 4. Ryan, you're in on the call too. I have some bottles that'll be heading your way as well for certain. So I hope you enjoy them.
That's perfect. But I love even just reminiscing about my first watching somebody do their rookie mistake of turning the bottle and then hitting the bottom like it was ketchup, and then you try to say no, but they've turned it over so quick, and then it's just fireworks. Everybody's got to do it once or watch somebody do it once, right? But I never thought about the gentle redistribution. You could probably even do it just like a gentle agitation, because like the living nature of what you create with a gin, it's like that is so magic.
Yeah, pretty magical.
Yeah, it's nice.
I feel like my introduction is a little bit delayed here. Now that I just kind of bring Ryan into the call. Cierra, I know you've met Ryan in the past, but this is kind of a hello. He's also been a part of the festival every year. You've kind of seen him sort of probably in year 1 he was out handing out flyers to passerbys, and year 2 he was helping out with the volunteers, and year 3 he hasn't been as involved with the vendors as I have, so you wouldn't have had as much interaction, but he's a sport. You know that he's going to be on this entire 24 hours with me and he's also the co-director of the festival.
Yes, actually, I did know that because of reading the website and some of the social media posts that came out, and I was like, oh, okay, Ryan Moen, that's who that guy was, because I have seen you, Ryan.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Yeah, but I think the nice part is that I get the couch and a couple of different spots to curl up, and Jared's in the
I love your
space.
couch. It looks really comfy.
Yeah.
I got my friends with me.
Yeah.
It'll be good. I'm not gonna reach too far back and hit the cactus, but I'm set up pretty good. But it's just so magic to be able to go through all this with everybody, because each talk is so tantalizing, and especially fungi. I mean, like you said, that world is just opening up. Is there any kind of ingredients that you're in the future looking into? Because I know the mushrooms that you mentioned are pretty popular. Is there anything that you could see coming into your brew in the future?
Well, actually, yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't have solid firm plans for this, but a friend of mine, Owen Parnell, who is an acupuncturist at Acuity Acupuncture here in Victoria, actually has been trying to talk me into doing some Jun infusions, or sort of Jun infusions of traditional TCM formulations. And I think that would be a really great thing to do because Jun, I mean, it comes from high mountain areas in China and Tibet. And the word Jun that we use in English comes from Chinese. Yisheng Jun is probiotics in Chinese. And it would be really cool, I think, to make some flavors like that. I haven't done that before. I'm not aware of anyone who's doing that right now. Like probably somebody's doing it in China, and yeah, I think that would be great. So I'm really open to that and hoping to like progress along that. Like I already started, you know, the cogs are turning.
That'd be
But
pretty
no
cool.
plans yet. Yeah, but it would be rad, right, Jared?
Oh, 100%. That'd be really
Yeah.
cool. Really, really interesting. You know, oh, is this the people that are dropping off your gin for me? No, it looks like a pickup. Okay.
As far as herbs that I use though and the future, I do have some concerns because a lot of the herbs I use have like drastically changed in price and availability over the past few months. And it makes me worried about supply chains like over the next year. I
Mm.
don't know if my current suppliers are going to run out and not be able to, you know, get what I need back in stock in time for my needs. And so I do have this sort of like side sheet in the back of my mind going where I've just got little notes about like, oh, what would I use instead? What would I substitute?
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, I mean, right now, like try and buy elderberry right now. Just try. Just
Impossible.
try. It's not gonna happen.
Impossible. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
not gonna happen.
I saw it in cough syrup recently, and I'm like not a cough syrup, a like a kind of an organic cough syrup, like lozenge. Sorry, and I was like, you big
Hmm.
company, you probably took it all.
Well, and that's why local and small scale is getting even more important. So, like to your viewers around the world, wherever you are in the world,
Yeah.
you need to look towards people in your own community who are growing herbs and creating herbal tinctures, whatever kind of herbal products, whether they're um, you know, individuals who are doing this as a sort of private healing practice or small businesses, because some of those larger supply lines are not necessarily going to be always the same as we expect them to be.
Yeah.
So I just really think it's important to connect with local herbalists, and I
Especially
do
during
know
these
someone
times.
locally who I know works with elderberry, and yeah, I'm just hoping that I'll be able to have some for personal use because I won't really be able to get enough to put in my gin to sell to all the people in town that want to have the elderberry gin right now.
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
and I think you experienced something like this with vanilla bean back in the day too, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
we use vanilla bean in our London Fog extraction or our London Fog blend that we do. This micro milled tea with London Fog. Sorry, with vanilla bean. And
Do you use like whole vanilla beans, or do you get the ground one? The ground one.
I use we actually slice open the vanilla bean pods and then scrape them out, and then we
Oh,
put.
that's so fun.
Yeah, it's a whole process. Yeah.
Miss those days.
It can get a little bit interesting, you know, just the sheer, especially because that's one of our more popular products. But like, it's an interesting challenge for certain. But what was really huge was just how expensive they got. Like, I think that not only is it supply and demand, but sorry, it is supply and demand, right? Like, if you really want to get your elderberry, you know, like sometimes you're talking to a company that's started to like really up that price. And for the most part right now, I'm seeing a lot of just like everybody's sold out. There's just no harvest, there's no nothing. We got to wait until it's ready kind of thing. And it's really challenging to get it. But with vanilla bean, that happened, right? Where there was like this run on vanilla bean, and then suddenly it was like 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, 20 times what it was, you know, like that's another thing that can sort of jump up and grab you. Hey, so you try to do these medicinal infusions, and your limitations aren't just supply, but also this incredible cost increase. And I don't know if you've experienced it with freight too. Like, man, things are so expensive in the pandemic. So another great reason to support local, hey, is like if you can find those connections locally, or somehow deal with smaller farms that would like the opportunity to work with somebody, it sure is helpful, hey?
Well, absolutely, yeah. Community is so key. I mean, we're also living in a world where the relative prices of different things are kind of really artificial. Like we can get herbs that are so powerful and amazing and just so powerful and valuable, and we can get them from another country, and we can get them for really, really cheap compared to their like real value. Oh, you got my Blue Universe right on, and my grassroots. I love it. But, anyway, you know what I'm saying, right? And whereas like getting a herb that is locally organically grown is going to be way more expensive than if I get my herb from an organic farm in China.
Right.
You know, and I think that whole system is going to be changing over the next several years, because the sort of status quo that it was based on is changing so much.
Yeah, I wonder how much, like, I think a lot of the newer relationships that we've developed and new systems for getting us our products, etc., are going to have some staying power even after the pandemic for certain. But I am looking forward to, once this is all dealt with, things that fly in won't be as cost prohibitive.
So I was wondering actually, Jared, what it's like for you, because I know that you get, and feel free to just disregard this if you're going to talk about it during a different section of this 24-hour
no,
festival.
That's all good. Yeah.
But I know that you have personal relationships with the actual farmers that grow the tea that you sell, for most of the tea that you sell.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you are not going to be faced with sudden surprising shortages in like teas that you're ordering, or do you find some of your farmers have not produced? Like, do you know what's going on over there?
It's an interesting question, because it does depend on the country. India, I've talked about this a little bit on my Jagavision show, but like first flush you couldn't harvest because of the pandemic, and so I can't get it, or like there's such a limited amount that you can get for 2020 first flushes out of the Darjeeling region in India. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later with the Lochan family, who will be joining us from the Doka state in Bihar, India. But yeah, that's a good example of like a connection where it's like, okay, but they can kind of pivot to different selections because they have multiple estates that they own or work with. Whereas if you're a small farmer in a production region that's just been shut down, you're not going to be able to provide. For my Japanese farms, it's actually an opposite problem. They're actually the small farms that we work with in Japan are experiencing issues with not having enough demand because everybody's staying home. They're not going out and buying gifts. Normally tea in Japan, especially like your loose teas, etc., there would be a big purchase that happens during what they call Golden Week. At the end of it, that's when a lot of farmers are like, okay, we got to be ready. I mean, it does depend on the region, but that's generally a goal for many farmers. And then to just not have people able to come by and grab them. And then recently, the government there tried to encourage sort of domestic travel because international travel had to be shut down. And then, of course, that spread the pandemic all around the country. And so they have had to kind of put things on pause there. So it's just, I think everybody's experiencing these incredible challenges. But I think that my understanding is that a lot of it is about there just not being enough demand in some areas. And then in other areas, like in elderberry, where it's just such a good natural herb for breathing and coughs, etc. There's just a huge demand because of what everybody's kind of going through right now, and the fact that it's an antiviral, etc.
So connecting with our local sources of things that we need is really important. Like the honey that we use, I know you use the same honey for your Jun, and we get that honey from right here on the island, so we don't have to worry too much about
cheers to Theo.
Being able to get it or not.
That's actually quite interesting. But I mean, he's also, I don't know about you, but my demand is I don't have anybody asking for kegs anymore. So, because most of the restaurants are closed. So most of my production went into bottles. And so it's been interesting to just be like, okay, what do we do next? And definitely my honey purchases are a lot more subdued compared to previous years. I'm really glad and grateful that people keep buying kombucha, but I can imagine with your Gen production, that maybe you're more than last year, but most people aren't. And I think
I was during the summer at the first half of summer. I was when people were like, "Oh yeah, let's support local." Like dropped off. Like at the markets, it was banging, but then it really dropped off because people just got like pandemic fatigue or whatever. you know, and honestly, it's challenging. I understand why people aren't going to the market as much this year
Well,
as they used to, because if you want to limit the times that you go out to social spaces,
yeah,
maybe that's one of the things you don't go to. And I mean, it's sad, but it's true.
yeah,
And so if people want to have the stuff, though, they need to support local, and they also need to learn how to make some of it,
yeah.
you know, themselves at home, right? So.
And as local suppliers, I think many of us have had to learn the ins and outs of trying to fly forward with like providing online or interacting with social media a little bit more. And on that note, maybe those who are watching, you can find Unity June at unitijune.ca. UnityJune
.com.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
UnityJune.com. Do I have it up here correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I guess I would like to mention to viewers too, if they're local or if they're around the world, Unity June does, I do sell brewing kits. It's got a 14-page booklet that is written and illustrated by me with very detailed information about how to brew a great batch of Jun in a style that is very easy to do at home. Okay. And it comes with SCOBY, and it comes with some tea that I got from Jared for your first batch.
Nice.
Yeah, and a nice little merino cover cloth in your jar and all that stuff that you need to brew. So if you want to learn to do that for yourself, or especially if you're in like a smaller town where you don't have this kind of thing, it would be really good to learn how to make it for your friends and family. And I would love to get that together and ship it to you. So you can contact me through unitijun.com.
Awesome, and you can take them. So you obviously, maybe you could talk about what we have still just a little bit more time here. I don't know if you've discussed what you want. I don't want to just take over, but I wanted to talk about kind of working backwards here. What is Jun? Like, we talked about it a little bit, but we might want to explain to people that know what kombucha is, but don't know what Jun is. You said they're related with each other, but did you want to go into just a little bit more detail for those watching?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, I'd love to. I know, that's funny, Jared. I had a whole plan, but then we started talking, and it's just like, oh,
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So I actually do have Jun's SCOBY here to show.
Okay, sweet.
Oops. Oh, look at that. I spilled some. Because the SCOBY's alive, and it keeps on pushing up, and so my lid keeps on slowly unscrewing, and I've had it at room temperature all day, so that's why it leaked, because the SCOBY was actually releasing gas that pushed my lid open. The Jun SCOBY, yeah, like I said, it's related to a kombucha SCOBY, but it eats raw honey and green tea. And there are people who have trained kombucha SCOBYs to eat raw honey and green tea with all kinds of different results. You know, you can get them tasting all kinds of different ways. Mm-hmm. The one that I have, supposedly, and I mean, I believe this to be true, I have no reason to doubt it, this was gifted to someone who became part of the founding of Unity Jun in Oregon several years ago, from someone who had it from someone who'd had it, and they'd had it since the 1960s, and supposedly it came from Asia before then. So this might be actually Jun SCOBY that like traces back to, you know, ancient times. It possibly is, and honestly, it's so delicious that I would say I 75% believe that that's true. But you know, you could, if you did train a kombucha SCOBY to eat raw honey and green tea. I think that if you happened to be, you know, they all turn out different, right? You can do that a bunch of times. Each one's going to be different, and none of them, I don't think any of them are going to be as good as the one I have. But you can, and like, no offense to Pedro, actually, I should say, no offense to Pedro.
Pedro 05, yeah.
Yeah, so if you had a really good one that just happened to turn out awesome, and you kept it going for generations and generations, I think you could turn it into a real Jun SCOBY. Because a real Jun SCOBY, it's not like the flat pancakes like a kombucha SCOBY. And if you just give it sugar and black tea, it's going to die, or it's going to change so much that it's not going to taste as good anymore. Mm-hmm. Because honey breaks down into all these different kinds of sugars that a different diversity of probiotic microorganisms can enjoy eating. Whereas kombucha eats just white sugar. And if you've ever brewed kombucha at home, you may have noticed that when you tried to give it the good organic stuff, your batch of kombucha was not as good. And it was because that's not what kombucha wants. Right. So Jun is a very different SCOBY from a kombucha SCOBY. definitely related because they are both symbiotic communities of bacteria and yeast. That is what SCOBY stands for, symbiotic communities of bacteria and yeast. And this one has pieces that I took from many different areas of my like huge giant Jun SCOBY that I have at the Jun Lab, and I put them all together in here. But you can even see from this that it is gooey and gloppy. It's not of the flat pancake variety. Yeah, so I kind of lost track of what I said there, Jared. Do you think I left any questions hanging about what on earth is Jun?
What is Jun? You know, I think that it might be useful for people to know that that it's you know, maybe there could be people that don't even know what kombucha is, and that's, you know, so there's that relationship of kombucha and Jun, but both of them being sort of a like you said, a symbiotic community of bacteria and yeast. Generally it's a starter similar to like sourdough or yogurt, and then you're going to encourage a fermentation to happen by combining that starter with some tea and some sugar to feed it. That's part of fermentation, right? We need to give it a sugar source, and in this case it's honey, and then we're going to finish with a beautiful probiotic that basically involves the ingredients of that SCOBY, some tea, and some honey.
That's right. If people, I could back that up a little. If people don't know what kombucha is, I guess you just said it.
Yeah, I just, you know, and then what makes yours special, and kind of is this idea of that lineage, if I understand correctly, tracing it back to some pretty cool stuff. I mean, arguably all of our SCOBYs do have that lineage because they're all gonna start from. But you know, it's really nice to be able to see that lineage or to understand it a little bit, right? Like of when it crossed the Pacific. It's also fascinating just what you've done with it. Like I something I learned today that I didn't know about your company is that the project started with this idea of giving people a healthy alternative at raves and dance parties where they didn't have to do some unhealthy things to their body to experience some really pleasant feelings. And so you're giving them a gift, really, of saying, hey, you know, like let's just do things for our bodies that are very healthful. And you've managed to use Jun as a canvas for achieving that goal from the sounds of it. Maybe is there some like exciting moments that you've found with your medicinal exploration with Jun that were really inspiring for you over the years that you wanted to share with everybody?
I wish that I had something come to mind. I feel like I have had a lot of inspiring moments that have been really exciting and fun.
Well, what has it done for you? Drinking Jun every day or regularly?
Yeah, for me personally.
Yeah, like is this?
Well, it's been kind of great, you know?
Yeah.
It's been pretty great. I mean,
I feel better for it. It's changed my life.
You're right that it did start, you know, partly as that with that intention at the raves, which I should say is like not necessarily judgmental that people should not do what they're doing and do the Jun instead. Like they could also combine them, and the Jun would still help them to be healthier than they were before.
Fair.
But like
that's their own. Yeah.
That's not my part of it. My part of it is just like, here, the Jun can give you something good, right? I'm just like there to offer, right? Rather than like to convert. I just want to be clear about that.
Sure.
Yeah, but like I guess some of the most inspiring fun times I've had with Jun have been like, you know, at the raves at the beginning. That was fun. And then going to festivals. It's been really fun taking it to festivals. Like just small little festivals are my favorite.
Nice.
And we obviously didn't have any this past summer. But the year before that we had one. It was like just a little small one, and I think there were only like 200 people there, and it was just a bunch of just really crazy hippies.
That's awesome.
Really crazy hippies. And I love how
you say that with like that means like a really good thing to you, and I agree. Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a good way.
Yeah,
yes, viewers around the world, I mean this in a good way.
Yeah.
People who are really open to exploring something new, open to having a new experience, maybe even looking for a new experience, right?
Right.
People who are open to that sort of thing often give me a really satisfying response to my Jun that I make, because with herbs, I mean, you can study herbs and learn about them from books, but you can also take them and feel into them and learn about them from your own experience.
Right.
And I always found that at festivals, like transformational festivals, where people are really into connecting with their own experience and learning from their own experience, there's this sort of intuition that happens, and people seem in that context, in that environment, so much more open and responsive to their own intuition. And you know, they'll have a feeling, right, that this is the one. I have a feeling I am drawn to this flavor, like I am drawn to this, you know. And in an environment like that, they'll like they'll be very mystical about it, you know. They'll just be like, I am drawn to this. You know?
That's awesome.
And then look at you with like these question marks in their eyes, right?
That's great.
And then you're like, okay, well, this one has 3 adaptogenic herbs in it that are super balancing for your nervous system. And then the person, you know, this is a transformational event, right? They're gonna, oh, that's exactly what I need. And like, I know I'm on a funny line here because I'm not trying to make fun of people, even though I know this might make you laugh when I say it. I'm not trying to make fun of people. I'm just like, but I'm laughing too because it's just so sweet and cute. And I don't know if you've ever been at an event like that, then you probably know what I'm talking about, when people are just so excited about something matching up with
what they need,
like something being the right thing in the right moment. And I've had so many of those, like, right thing in the right moment with the herbs in my gen.
That's cool.
That have just really made people feel good. Like, I've had messages from people, like, even after markets, like selling somebody some gen, it's like, oh, my tummy feels kind of gross. Do you think one of your flavors might help me? I'm like, hey, try the ginger sublime. I'm not saying it will help, but, you know, if any of them will, maybe that one will, right?
Right.
And then later I get an email. It's just like, oh my God, I feel so great. And I've had emails about, it's the only thing that cures my morning sickness. My husband is on his way to meet you. Where are you?
And then the chai, very warming, and there seems to be such a lovely backdrop for all of the different things you do and the different gifts that they give to people that drink them. That's really cool. We're actually hitting coming close to the 2 minutes here. Ryan, I haven't I don't know if we've answered any questions you might have for Cierra.
No, I was just like a kid in a candy store. Like, I was like, yeah, me too. I got my kombucha, and it's like a little member of my family. And like, exactly that same thing when you're working with a living organism that's providing something. It's like all you can do is feed it and grow it, and encourage it. I was just like, this is so exciting.
Yeah, and it's tea. It's like we all love tea, and it's one more thing we can do with tea. You can feed it to Jen and kombucha scobies.
Awesome.
I love your kombucha SCOBY. It looks great. I love its pancakiness. Very classic.
Very, very classic. We have about a minute left here. Cierra, did you want to say any sort of final words to everybody watching? Or if you had any final things you wanted to talk about before we go on our next break here?
I just want to say I hope everybody drinks lots of tea and stays up for 24 hours. This is going to be a fun and wild ride.
It certainly will be. Thank you, Cierra. Really appreciate having you on the show, and looking forward to seeing lots more of you, and hopefully we'll even have you at the 2021 Victoria Tea Festival Revival. I'm
looking forward to it, Jared.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. And so that was Cierra with Unity Gen. Hold on one sec. And we had a lovely time with her on the show here. Looking forward to moving to our next session here. We're gonna be moving to Daniel Liu. Will be joining us from the Chinese tea shop in Vancouver. We're gonna be talking about some ancient pu'er cakes and having a discussion with him. So if you want to stay tuned, we're going to take another 15-minute break here, and see you then, right at 2. I think I got the time there. Did I get the time there correct? Am I in the right reality here, Ryan? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Right.
You're in the Pacific Standard Time again. You just jumped ahead of province, I think.
Just now?
No, you're correct.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. All right, so we'll see you guys at 2 p.m. And we'll be meeting with the Chinese tea shop in from Vancouver. Daniel, thank you so much. Oh, I was about to put on a little time mistake here, so I'll just delete that. And then everybody, we will see you shortly.